Yes, welcome into Sports Bet. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy, Thursday, August 10th. Big game breakdown, NFL, Falcons and the Dolphins, and the Saints and the Browns. Deep dive, part two with Clay Travis. College football, we'll get to that. Teddy did a lot of interviews down in Costa Rica. Great job there. And play of the day before we get out there, a winner in the NFL. You know how baseball went. All right, bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. This was terrible beat. The A's Mariners total, Teddy, was 9.5. It was 6-3 in the fifth inning. One hit the rest of the way.
Yeah, but really a bizarre bad beat here. They had 4 in the first. They had 7 by the third. You have 9 by the fifth. You got over 9.5 in that ball game. You're coasting. Except for that, it's just crickets the rest of the way. You say one hit. There was only 2 walks the last 4 innings. There wasn't even any almosts during that span. Edwin Diaz now 25 saves. The ERA down to 2.90. That's a big part of why the Mariners would be playing the Yankees in the wild card game if the season ended today. Diaz got the job done. So did the bullpens. Tough beat for Seattle, Oakland overbetters.
That'd be a hell of a game. It'd be Severino against Paxton likely, which would be a lot of fun. Bad bet. Explain this one. Padres Reds total bet down from 10 to 9.
I can't explain it. I don't know what the attraction was. I mean, the underticks in that ball game were shredded by the 6th inning. And every quote out of Brian Price is, I'm going to leave my starters in. I'm not going to pull them. We're going to see how they respond to adversity. Although it wasn't the Padres offense that got going yesterday. It was Cincinnati's that sent that game up and over the total. That was a bad bet, a full run move on the under. And the books got to keep all that money.
All right, play of the day winner. Bad for the books. Houston, Carolina total. Bet up from 36 to 38.5. It went over in the third quarter. Watson played well and looked good. Webb played well and looked good, like you talked about in the deep dive. Webb scrambling, made a lot of plays, keep it with his legs to on third down to move the chains, and the game flew over.
Sure. I mean, the 2 QBs, Webb and Watson, only got credited for 3 running plays each. They were all at key situations, and between them, they kept about, I don't know, at least half a dozen passing plays alive with their mobility in the pocket. That game does not go over without a pair of mobile QBs on the field for extended stretches. And let's not forget, NFL quarterbacks, they don't run the ball in training camp. That means defenders don't chase them in training camp. You could see how much room Watson and Webb had to run against defenders that haven't been allowed to chase QBs since last season.
All right, bad for the books. This was the Cubs were supposed to run away and hide in the division after they took over first place. Monday, they started a stretch where 27 of their next 30 games were against teams with a losing record. Not off to a good start. They lose 2 out of 3 in San Francisco. The Giants were plus $1.05, went off the favorite as high as minus 125. Mad Bum, who's owned the Cubs in his career, pitched well. Giants win 3-1. The total also was bet down from 8 to 7.
Yeah, this was a lousy result for the house, I'll tell you that. And look, the Giants may be out of contention. I'm telling you, Big Panda has brought something to that team. And so is Mad Bum. You know, Bumgardner spent all that time on the DL. Well, over his last 4 starts, he's got a .138 ERA. And 3 of those games came against the Dodgers, the D-backs, and the Cubs. 3 potent offenses, more strikeouts than hits allowed in each of his last 3 starts. You can expect the wise guys to be all over Madison Bumgarner moving forward. And we saw them take a big hit with San Francisco money pouring in yesterday in the Giants win over Chicago.
I'm 40 years old. I've never been so emotionally involved or attached to a show in my life. It's the best show. It's better than any movie. It's like a movie every week because the budget's so high with HBO. Sunday's episode, The Finish, Dynamite with Drogon and What Happened. SBR Picks, great tweet at SBR Sports Picks on Twitter. Game of Thrones Iron Throne winner props. Danny, your favorite, 2-1. Jon Snow plus 275. Cersei Lannister 5-1. Vacant. Interesting. 7-1. These are courtesy of Ladbrokes. This is when the show will end. Not season 7. This is when the show will end after season 8. Good props up there. I'll tell you what, earlier the Night King was 5-1 to sit on the Iron Throne. People would riot if that happens. And the White Walkers win. I got to get you to this TV show. It's the best thing you're ever going to see, Teddy.
Yeah, and the number of episodes of Game of Thrones I've watched in my lifetime continues to be 0. Maybe one day I'll get there, Pauly, but I'm busy, man. I don't got time for Game of Thrones. It's football season.
My friend's a sports book director. He just knocked out 2 seasons in a week. You can't get away from it. What do you think of the Pat Forty article? Well, it was a big story about Josh Rosen said football and school don't mix. Also, if you raise the SAT scores, what kind of program would Alabama have?
Yeah, first of all, number one, I agree with Forty's article 100%. An excellent college football writer. And basically what
Mhm.
he's saying, Josh wrote about college football and school not mixing. It's true. It's all true. People don't want to hear it, but college football is semi-pro football. You think these kids, by and large, are interested in getting a degree? Most of them are not. Most of them are there to play football, including the guys with NFL futures. In no other profession except sports do we say, well, you're talented enough to make a living at it, but the rules won't let you. You got to go to school, and academics are what's going to get you into football. It's nonsense. Everyone knows it. It's hypocrisy. I thought Pat Forty got it right.
There was some great quotes in there too. Also, the article: did you get the degree? Maybe you got a degree, but did you get a degree in what you wanted to study, or were you just pushed through to stay eligible and go the easy route? As Rosen said, I could take the easy way out and be a sociology major too. Big game breakdown coming up next. NFL baby, Falcons and the Dolphins. I don't think we'll see any Cutler, but we'll run through that. And the Saints and the Browns, Sean Payton 0-8 straight up the last 2 years on SportsBet. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Back on SportsBet, Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy. Time for a big game breakdown. Powered by Bet Online. They're known for exceptional customer service, strong promotions, and every possible type of wager that we want is out there. Check out the bonus page, sportsbookreview.com, for the latest and best offers out there. To open an account today, NFL, game number 1, Falcons and the Dolphins. Atlanta on the road, 236 the total. Money showing for Atlanta. They just signed Cutler. It doesn't look like he's going to play, Teddy.
Yeah, the initial reports are Jay Cutler will not see playing time tonight. But look, Adam Gase has been impressed with what Cutler has done so far. Here's the quote after Cutler's first practice. I didn't see a problem. Guys just keep doing what they're supposed to do. He remembers basically everything with the offense. Remember, of course, Cutler ran Gase's offense in Chicago just 2 years ago. Quote, the biggest thing for him was just getting that feel with the rush. He said he felt good, that he's not going to sugarcoat anything with me. So it was good that he fell just right back into it. But it doesn't look as if Jay Cutler is going to play tonight for Miami. Means Matt Moore, Brandon Doherty, and David Fales. Not a bad QB rotation with Doherty and Fales coming in behind Moore, a guy who needs a whole lot of work.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's a pretty good rotation as well. Now, with Atlanta, Shanahan gone, Sark, the new OC, his only NFL experience was at a QB coach with the Raiders, and they stunk. They went 5-11, and Kerry Collins was the quarterback. He had a passer rating of 74.8. To me, the system has to change a little bit, right, Teddy? Every guy wants to come in and call the shots and run, at least put his own touch on the offense, right?
For as much as I criticize Kyle Shanahan for the last 20 minutes of the Super Bowl, which, again, I will never forgive him, but, I mean, he was brilliant last year. The playbook was brilliant. Shanahan's timing for keeping defenses off balance was brilliant. He found holes in just about every defense that every defense they faced. I'm not convinced Sark is going to find those same holes or have that same level of creativity. Certainly at the NFL level, his experience as an OC hasn't been particularly good. And there's another factor to note here as the money continues to show for Atlanta, and it's all, Jay Cutler's not going to play type of money. What's the urgency for the Falcons in the preseason here? Miami is a team, they do have something to prove. They have to get their backup, who was hurt last year, some work. For the Falcons, Matt Ryan, maybe he plays a series tonight, maybe he doesn't play at all. We're talking about Matt Schaub, Matt Sims, Alex Torgerson. Sims and Torgerson on the field for most of the second half. That's not a duo I'm in any rush to lay points with, even in an NFL preseason game.
All right, game number 2. Here's a 3-point move. Saints on the road to take on the Browns. Osweiler gets the start. The Browns are 38 the total. Market's all over Sean Payton, who's 0-8 straight up the last 2 years. That's why he had the 3-point move. Although, listen, you're not going to see much of Breeze, but it's a good rotation, though. It's Chase Daniel, it's Garrett Grayson, the kid from Colorado State, and then it's Ryan Nassib, as Grayson and Nassib battling out for that number 3 spot. So that's pretty good behind Drew Brees.
Yeah, and of course the Saints not just 0-8 straight up in the preseason over the last 2 years. They're 0-8 against the spread. I mean, this has been a huge move towards Cleveland. We're talking about pick 'em to -3 and -3 with juice at a lot of places. And certainly, Drew Brees isn't going to play. Drew Brees isn't going to play as part of the equation. There's another part we'll talk about on the Cleveland side in a minute. But when you look at this Saints QB rotation, you nailed it, Pauly. Chase Daniel could play. He's been a preseason performer. I like my money on Chase Daniel in the month of August. And when you have a competition for the 3rd QB slot, one guy's going to make the roster, one guy's going to be cut or put on the practice squad. That's a real competition. You know what I mean? And the coaching staff has to run plays, say, which of these guys can play? So you tend to see a more aggressive second half game plan when you have a competition for the 3rd string QB battle. Those tend to be bet on situations, not bet against situations, even though the money has come in the other way.
Does Hugh Jackson want to win this game, though? How important is it to Hugh? He's 0-8 ATS in the preseason.
Exactly. It's not like Hugh Jackson has this great preseason track record compared to Sean Payton. They're both on 0-8 as point spread runs. But Jackson has come with quotes saying, we want to establish a tone of winning right from the preseason. It's understandable why. Obviously, when you have a team that went 1-15 last year, establishing a culture of winning, there's something to be said for that, particularly in these home games. But, the first 0-4 came in his tenure with Oakland. That was a long time ago. The 0-4 last year with the Browns came because the games didn't matter one bit, Pauly. That team had more rookies on their week 1 roster than any non-expansion team in NFL history. You understand? So it wasn't like Cleveland was primed to win preseason games last year. They were completely a work in progress. This year's team feels a little bit different coming into August.
All right. Sometimes the more you read, the more trouble you can get in. This was on ESPN.com. There were 2 stories. One said Kaiser looks good. The other one said he struggled. So, it's on the same website. Incredible. Now, Osweiler gets the start. Here's a quote from Brock. When I got traded, I focused on the things I could control, my attitude, my energy, my effort toward my off-season workouts and cleaning up things maybe I didn't do so well the previous season. I had a conversation with Coach Jackson very early on. He said, you're a Brown, and point blank, period. That's what it is. You're a Brown. I came in here with a positive mindset, and we'll see how he does coming up. Again, no guarantee that he'll be the starter week 1 of the regular season, and who knows? Maybe they're showcasing him for a trade. I can't imagine they're going to get a lot in return, but don't be surprised if Kaiser wins the job either.
Well, Osweiler's going to start tonight. All right. Does it mean anything? Well, here's a quote from Hugh Jackson. Quote, if I stuck one of those other guys out there as a starter, they weren't going to play a lot of football because they probably would have come out when the other veterans came out. So when you sit down and think about what's best for our football team, it's best for me to trot Brock out there, see if he can go lead this offense and lead the team, and in the process, keep getting these young guys more reps. This thing, meaning the starting QB battle, is not over by any stretch. That's not a confidence boost for Brock Osweiler, but he's live for the job, which if you watched him in Houston last year, it's hard to imagine him being live for any job in 2017. This is probably the best situation for Brock Osweiler's career that he could walk into, is a chance of starting in the NFL again, which probably maybe a decent motivator for tonight's contest. Not enough for me to lay the 3 with Cleveland. Not with a team that's 0-8 ATS or 0-8 in the Hugh Jackson 0-8, 0-4 last year. I'm not laying 3 after the line move with the Browns. The only way I can look here is taking the points. I'm going to get involved.
All right, we'll get to that coming up later. Up next, the deep dive, Clay Travis, part 2, more college football down at the Seminar, Costa Rica on Sportsbet. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Welcome back to SportsBit. We're here with Clay Travis from Fox Sports and from Outkick the Coverage, a guy who has me outnumbered in Twitter followers more than 25-1, which makes me very jealous. Please follow me on Twitter at Teddy_covers. Clay, let's talk the 2017 football season.
Yes.
You're a guy who has your ear to the ground. What are you hearing? Who do we like? Who do we dislike? Let's talk NFL to start for 2017. Give me a bet on or a bet against.
I think, everything in the NFL at this point is Patriots, yes or no, right? I mean, I feel like There are a lot of people out there who, if I gave them the option, you get the Patriots or the other 31 teams, they would take the Patriots. Now, for me, I think that's insane. You know, I always like the more value. What happens if Brady gets hurt? We still haven't seen that much of Garoppolo. You know, guy's going to be 40 years old. So, you know, I like to break down by division almost, because to me, when you look across the landscape of divisions, it gives you a better sense who's going to make the playoffs. It's hard to make the playoffs in the NFL, and it's particularly hard to make the playoffs in the NFL and win a game if you don't have a great quarterback. So I think there are only about 10 or 12 teams with great quarterbacks right now as we enter into the 2017 season. So if I run like around the nation, I think Patriots will win the AFC East. I think that the NFC South is probably the most intriguing division in all of football right now, because you've got 3 really, really good quarterbacks, arguably 4, right? I mean, you start to break down, that to me is the best quarterbacking division in all of football. So to me, the most challenging division to point to in all of football is the NFC South. Are you confident in Drew Brees? Yeah. Hall of Famer, first ballot. You confident in Jameis Winston? A lot of people are, with the new weapons that he has there.
No question.
Deshaun Jackson, O.J. Howard, I think they're going to be a lot better on the offensive side of the ball. Are you confident in Cam Newton? Maybe the least reliable, fascinatingly, of everybody in that division, even though he was the MVP 2 years ago, because I'm very confident in Matt Ryan. So I have no idea what's going to happen in the NFC South, but I think that's the most intriguing race. The second most intriguing race, I think, is the AFC South, because I'm a huge believer in Marcus Mariota. I've watched him make every throw so far in the NFL. I obviously watched him play a lot in college, and I'm a true believer. I mean, I just think that the Titans are going to win the AFC South. I think that Mariota, if he can stay healthy, is going to be a top 10 quarterback for the next decade. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Andrew Luck. Obviously, I'm a big believer in Luck, but he's not healthy right now. The Texans have nobody. We'll see whether Deshaun Watson is able to rise up.
Texans have somebody. We just don't think
we'll
if he's good at NFL level.
Deshaun Watson and Tom Savage. We'll see if they've got a quarterback. And then Jacksonville, poor Jacksonville, they're dead. They're in the race for top pick overall, and we'll see whether or not they can get Sam Darnold. You know, I can go across every division, but to me, the biggest question is Patriots or not. On the NFC side of the ball, man, I just find it hard to pick against the best quarterbacks, and I think it's a quarterback's league, and that's all that matters. So I would say, you know, if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, like he can play like he did down the stretch, then I like the Packers' chances to win the NFC.
So let's talk sleepers then, you know, because really when we're talking mainstream, we know the best teams and we know the best quarterbacks. Okay. Let's go a little bit deeper and see, are there any teams that are way under the radar, non-playoff teams from last year, let's say?
Well, I'll give you 2 right off the top. I mean, the Bucs and the Titans. I mean, Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota, 1-2. It'll be now their 3rd year in the league. I mentioned them already in the NFC South, is how challenging that is. I think both the Bucs and the Titans have good chances to be playoff teams this year that were not playoff teams last year.
Well, then that'd be a fun rivalry too.
Oh,
with Winston and Mariota going 1-2,
great,
and then Winston and Mariota being
making the playoffs in the same year.
Exactly.
I think both of them will. To me, you know, the NFC North is a division. Let's take away the Packers, who we know have a great quarterback. I feel like a lot of people still don't respect Matthew Stafford and the Lions. I know they went to the playoffs this past year. It's been forever. My wife's from Detroit. You went to school at Michigan. You know how long it's been since the Lions actually won a playoff game. I think if everything went well for the Lions, that they could be really good this year. I know Sam Bradford, it's trendy to make fun of the fact that he can't stay healthy, but if they can protect him, I think he's a pretty good quarterback for the Vikings. We know how talented their defensive side of the ball is. It's kind of like I'm just working across the country. To me, when you get out west, I'm not a believer in Carson Palmer. I think the Cardinals have probably peaked. I think Larry Fitzgerald, I think they're probably done. But a team that I think could make a big step in improvement. I'm not necessarily sold on Jared Goff at all, but I do think that the Rams are going to be a lot better this year than they were last year. And then I'll go back all the way to the East. I think the Eagles could make a big jump this year if Wentz is as good as he looked like he could be. I'm a big believer in year 1 to year 2. You know, like, what can you do year 1 to year 2? Because that's when they got all the film on you all of a sudden. And you know how the NFL defenses work. They can take away anything but a pocket passer. That's kind of the lesson that we've learned over the last 15 years, basically. And to me, Wentz looked like, at times, he could be a really good, big, strong, prototypical pocket passer. So if he can take the next step, to me, the Eagles, and I like going young quarterbacks because, you know, again, Jared Goff didn't look great that first year, but I think the expectations are so low for the Rams that potentially he could be a kind of a big surprise if he's just decent this year.
Sure. When you're talking about from a point spread perspective, the Rams are going to be underdogs in just about every game.
Right.
If they're decent,
And nobody's gonna bet on them.
Exactly. If they're
Yes.
decent, you'll make a lot of money
Yes.
with a team like LA. You talk about Detroit. Let's put it this way: the last time the Lions won a playoff game, I was still living in Ann Arbor.
There you go.
So,
I mean, my wife, is from Michigan and went to University of Michigan as well, and I'm well versed in the Lions' woes. Yes.
no shortage. Last question. Let's just move to college real quick. Anyone in college got your eye? But obviously, besides Alabama and Oklahoma and the top teams.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a sleeper or maybe one of the top teams that you think might not live up to expectations.
Well, so I think Florida State might not live up to expectations because I think they're going to lose to Alabama in week 1. And we know how good Alabama typically plays in week 1 after all the preparation Nick Saban puts in.
Sure.
Even as good as Jimbo Fisher is, I think that Alabama is going to beat Florida State. I think it will be hard for Florida State to make the playoff, and that's the expectation for them, without then running the table the rest of the way. So, do I think that they're going to go 12-0, winning through the championship game in the ACC? No, I don't. So I don't think Florida State's going to make the playoff, even though they're a prohibitive favorite to do so right now. I'm also not 100% sold on JT Barrett. He's been there a long time. I think that he has peaked, and we have seen JT Barrett be as good as he's going to be. He's a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. So I don't believe that Ohio State should be as prohibitive of a favorite in the Big Ten as they are. Huge believer in Bama. I love USC because of their schedule and also because I think Sam Darnold's going to win the Heisman Trophy. I went and bought my first futures ticket. I know you don't like him, but I got Sam Darnold at 9-1. Another thing I'd like to see if gambling gets legalized is you be able to trade in your futures market tickets, on a digital level. If I get somebody, let's say like Lamar Jackson was 66-1 before the season started to win the Heisman Trophy. If he's 8-1 and I want to cash in the differential that I've created, basically in predicting him to be better than he was expected, even before we know if he should win the Heisman Trophy, I think there should be a market to take those future tickets off your hands.
Sure, and there's a start of that. There's a site called PropSwap.
I've heard about that.
You can go to, but it's only you have to be physically in Las Vegas.
I feel like most people have no idea it exists.
Sure.
Right? And frankly, again, the fact that you have to be physically in one location knocks out a huge percentage of the people that are in the population.
Sure, that's not 2017.
Yes.
People know you exist, Clay Travis. Where can they find you?
You can find me at Clay Travis, easy on Twitter. Outkick the Coverage, outkick.com is my website. And we do a morning show nationwide, 250 AM FM stations, 50 states, and Sirius XM channel 83. I'm up early, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. You can hear me every Monday through Friday.
3 a.m. Pacific time.
Yes.
That's brutal.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Clay.
Appreciate it.
Really glad you were able to stop by right here on SportsBit at SBRpicks.com.
Wrapping it up on SportsBit. Great job, Teddy. That's the second part with Clay Travis. If you missed the show yesterday, check that out. Part 1 was part of the deep dive as well. Money time, play of the day. Winner yesterday with the Texans and Panthers over. You said it. You teased it earlier. Back to play of the day. Back to the Saints, Teddy.
Yeah, betting number 265. Let's take the New Orleans Saints +3. Look, Cleveland, it's hard to be -3, even in the preseason with a rookie quarterback surrounded by weak skill position talent in the second half of this ballgame. Saints are live here. To win, Saints are certainly live to cover. Give me New Orleans +3. That's game number 265 as our play of the day.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow. We'll close it out strong. Friday, more NFL preseason. We'll recap the 7 games tonight and the Steelers and the Giants Friday night. NFL Network, a line move in this game. No Ben, no Antonio Brown, and Josh Dobbs gets the start. Tomlin 3-14 straight up the last 4 years in the preseason. We'll talk to you then on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.